made a few picks. We again just add to the pool of prospects and hope some of them turn into NHL players at one point.
With the trade you made with Edmonton, what are you hoping to get out of Yamamoto and Costin?
Well, Costin's a big winger, obviously. Plays hard. We're looking to add some of that. Kind of figure out exactly what our plan and where Kyle, I haven't even had a chance to talk to him or his agent, figure out what our plan there is.
What else do you think you still need to address? And I guess will that be done, you think, in free agency or?
In regards to our team?
Yeah, like scoring, goaltending?
I'll try to, obviously we don't have a goaltender signed. We'd like to do that. We need to do that. Look into the right shot defenseman as well. And then just whatever mix up front. So we got some roster spots open, and we'll see if we can't address those in free agency.
Do you feel you still need to address scoring some, just with trading Bertuzzi and Rana? Those were two of your, top goals talented forwards.
Yep.
That's still something you need to address?
I would like to, yes.
Yeah.
When you go into free agency, where's kind of your comfort level on term this year? Do you think it's similar to last year? Would you like to go shorter?
Depending on the player.
Do you still, a possibility of trading for somebody is still a possibility as well?
Sure.
Yeah.
Is there any trade talk today or once when you get beyond the first round?
Steve, a lot of these prospects have been talking about how excited they are for development camp. What are you hoping that they can kind of absorb and take in over these next few days?
Really just for us to get to know them a bit further, kind of make sure they're set up for their off season, where they're going to train, spend a little time with them and talk about some of the areas we like to, whether it's on ice or off ice, focus on. And our development camp is more about kind of education than it is really about conditioning. So mostly just want to spend a few days with them, kind of make sure they're set up on. We do a lot of little things as far as getting, physically and skating wise to set them up for a good off season, really.
Are there any of your own restricted that you do not plan to qualify, or when we spoke to you last week, it sounded like you hadn't made up your mind or qualify your own restricted?
Yeah, we got a pretty good idea what we're doing. We'll make those final decisions tomorrow.
And your own UFAs, what have you told them, like Nedeljkovic and such?
I've had a chance to talk to a few. We're a day out. We haven't ruled anything out at this point, but I have talked to some of them and don't really want to elaborate at this point.
Steve, Costin seemed to take a step in his development last year. Do you see more steps from him?
I hope so. We watched him last year. He's big. He played. He skated well. Was more involved in the game. He played on a pretty deep team there in Edmonton, so there's an opportunity for him to take on a bigger role. But we felt like he showed he could play in the NHL as a regular. That was our opinion. How high up the lineup, we're optimistic that he can work his way into a bigger role with us.
Steve, with more veteran players getting traded over the past couple of weeks, do you think that's kind of become a reflection or maybe a replacement for free agency in some senses because of the cap, where the cap's at right now?
It might have something to do with the cap. Really, everyone is competitive and has different reasons for where they are, different reasons for doing what they're doing. Ultimately, I think people are looking at the free agency market, and it's kind of thin this year. So if they want to improve their team, they're looking at the trade market.
Yeah,
you get some certainty if you make a trade, as opposed to going into 2 days from now, we have no idea who or what you're getting and what it's going to cost you.
Is that because the free agent market seems to be? I'm not sure how active you expect Saturday to be at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out on Saturday. We'll make a lot of calls. We'll see where we end up. And everybody does the same thing. And there's just probably more needs than there are players at this point.
You like the size you added with some of your defensemen, especially. It looked like you added some big defensemen today.
Yeah. We have 3 or 4 defensemen, but generally all of them were on the bigger side. wasn't necessarily the plan. We need big defensemen. It's just we happen to like these guys and like them as prospects. So yeah, it's nice that they're big, and if they can play, that'll be even better.
When you pick a brother, do you talk to Liam about just to get a feeling for what he thinks of when you pick somebody's brother like that?
Well, we didn't talk to Liam now. I'm guessing, between Thomas Carlson, Haken, Nick Cronwall, Nick Lidstrom over there right in Sweden, they know the family well. They know the players on and off the ice. So it's not like we had to call Liam and tell us about your brother. First of all, he's going to say good things, so we don't need to really ask the brother.
Did you watch Augustine much in person this year with him being so close? What did you think of him?
We watch that team all the time, obviously, and in some cases it's not good to watch them too much, because you judge them harder. But I thought he played really well. I thought he was a very competitive goalie. It kind of sounds silly, but he looks good in the net. He moves well. His positioning is good. He's a competitive kid, and obviously we pick him in the second round. We think very highly of him.
What did your scouts tell you about the German kid from Mannheim that you took?
We had a chance to watch him play in Switzerland at the U18s. I was there, so he's a really good skater. He's got good puck skills. He plays with a lot of energy. So, again, I really like his skating and his puck skills and the energy that he plays with.
Do you like the position you're in, just as far as you have salary cap space? I mean, you still have some draft capital next year, just as far as with whatever it is you hope to achieve over the next few days to improve the current team.
I think we're positioned reasonably well to have the ability with cap space, with draft picks, if we want to go at it through trade, if we want to go through free agency. There's options there, but I'm not going to just spend the money because I have it, and we're not going to just trade the picks because we have them. We're going to try to make good decisions, regardless of our cap space or our capital. But it gives you options. It's just hard, to get if you want young players, which there aren't many of them on the market. To get them, you got to be prepared to pay, and then you got to be prepared to pay a lot of money to them as well.
Do you allow yourself a little bit feeling relief just now the draft is over, free agency ahead? Just you talked about how the draft is kind of stressful because you got to make sure you get the right picks. Is there any breathing room at all? Or?
For a couple hours now, we got to get ready for the first. Everything's really condensed this year. So yeah, it was nice to once you get your list in order. The other night, once it's in order, you just kind of, okay, that's our list. We've spent all this time on it. Let's not overthink this thing. Let's get to work there in the draft. And, now you're focused on it, and it's much like when as a player before the big game, you're all nervous. Once the pucks drop, you just play and you feel good and you're comfortable. That's kind of the way it is out here. So get a bit of a breather and back to Detroit and get prepared tomorrow for one for development camp, but more importantly, get ready for the first and see what we do in free agency.
Driving or flying? Driving or flying?
I'm hoping flying. It doesn't sound too good right now, but we'll see. I might just park it here in Nashville for a few days. Operate out of Tootsie's.
I know you mentioned the other day you guys have a lot of priorities, but do you feel like adding a score, is that like an elevated priority, or could you see a world where you don't really add a big score?
Well, I certainly could see a world where we don't. I hope that doesn't happen. I'd like to add some offense, but again, there's no guarantees I can do anything. So we'll fill some spots. Who exactly, I'm not sure, and for how long or how much. That's the nature of free agency. But we'd like to. We know our roster. You all look at it. The guys we've traded, we'd like to add some, and we'll try to do that in some form or another, and kind of keep our fingers crossed that we can score some more goals.
That's one for me. Last year you referred to you having a beautiful list.
Of free agents?
Yeah. What adjective would you use to describe your list this year?
We have a list this year. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of good players out there. In reality, you look back at last year. My point is, there's a long list. You got all these names. you're lucky to get one or two. I think we were able to get 4 or 5 guys last year, and again, we're going to get some of the guys to fill these spots. We don't exactly know who. We'll try to get the best ones we can, taking into account the term and the cost, the cost of the contract.
Good luck with the flight.
Great. We'll see you guys this week. You as well. Cheers. Bye-bye.